You know, you can make a lot of mistakes in life. You're allowed to make a lot of mistakes, but there are some mistakes that you cannot afford to make because they are costly and they are expensive, as I'm going to explain to you from a biblical point of view. And we are going to explore various instances in the Bible where people made terrible mistakes and how they paid for those mistakes. And these mistakes are, because I want to be very specific, they are mistakes which are done against the altar, against the things which have been set aside for God's work, vitu vya madhabahu, things which have been set aside lakini kitu kama hii imetolewa ikiwa ya kufanya kazi ya Mungu, it has been set aside for God's work. Those things are no go zone. They are no go zone area. Or people who have been anointed or called for God's purpose or for God's work, hao watu uachana na wao. Those people are defended by their father God, and he know how to defend his people. There is this instance where Abraham, you know Abraham, went to a foreign land because there was drought in the land where he was living in Canaan those days. Na wakati alienda because he feared that the king or the people of that land where he was a foreigner would take his wife away from him because Sarah was very beautiful. Alienda kudanganya that Sarah was his sister. Na wakati alidanganya Sarah alikuwa sister yake, the king of that land akachukua huyo bibi yake akamweka kwa nyumba yake akuwe bibi yake. And God appeared to that king at night akamwambia, wewe you are, huyo king alikuwa anaitwa Abimelech, akamwambia Abimelech, you are a very dead person. Why? Umechukua bibi ya rafiki yangu, huyo mtu ni nabii. You have touched the wife of my friend. Hata kama huyo mtu alikudanganya, alikwambia huyu mtu ni, alikwambia huyo msichana ni sister yake, huyo mtu ni bibi yake, yes, amekudanganya, but you have touched, you have gone into a no go zone area. This is my friend, this is Abraham, I have a covenant with him, huyu ni bibi yake. You cannot touch the wife of my friend, of someone whom I have anointed, someone whom I have a covenant with. This happens when you have a covenant with God. No person will ever touch your things. And that is why I began this conversation by cautioning you. Stay away from things which have been set aside for God's purpose, or people who have been set aside for God's purpose. And if you don't know things, you better shut up. Because I do know that there are people who, you know, nowadays people speak a lot of bad things about the clergymen, the people who God have called, and you speak without even information. And you see a lot of things. And you see how God is defending them. Mungu anasema, huyo mtu nimemuita mimi. I have a covenant with that person. You cannot touch the wife of that person. You cannot touch the properties of that person. Nimemuita. Ninamudefend. The same way God can defend you, or God is supposed to defend you, or God defends those people whom he has called. Ukiona mtu ambaye unajua ameitwa na Mungu, wacha vituko. Wachana, eda ufanye mchezo na mtu mwingine. Lakini usifanye mchezo na mtu ambaye Mungu amemteua na akamuita. You are going to pay and pay dearly. You know what happened to that person whom I've told you, Abimelech. Hakuna mtu alizaa kwa familia yake. In fact, there was Mungu aliweka utasa kwa hiyo familia mzima. No one could give birth in the whole family. Just because you have touched the wife of an anointed person. Wewe unasemaga umeokoka mpaka umejazwa na bibi yako alichukuliwa. It is a wake up call. I think it is a wake up call. You must also ask yourself whether is it indeed true. People are stealing from you na umeitwa na Mungu na umejazwa na unaongea kwa dini. God defends his people. There was another instance where there was a king ambaye alienda in Israel, and they were destroying the temple of Israel at that particular time, the Jerusalem temple. And when they destroyed the Jerusalem temple, huyo mfalme akachukua vifaa ambazo zilikuwa zimewekwa in the temple. Hizi vitu zimetolewa Mungu zifanye kazi kwa madhabahu, akazichukua. And then at one point he had a party in his own in his house. And when he was having a party, akaitisha zile vikombe ambazo zilikuwa zimetolewa kwa madhabahu ya Mungu wazitumie kukunywa chai ama kukunywa wine, using those cups za Mungu zilikuwa zinatumika kwa madhabahu. And you know, at that particular time Mungu alikuwa amekasirishwa na Wanaisraeli mpaka he had released that they should be taken into captivity. So he was not, you can say that he was not even in good terms with them. Lakini mtu akaguza kitu ambayo ilitolewa hivi ikapatianwa, hii kitu ni ya madhabahu, ifanye kazi kwa madhabahu. And the story goes that they saw a hard writing on the wall, mene tekel, kugawanya, kutawanya, ufalme wako nimeugawanya, nimeumaliza kuanzia leo mpaka mwisho. At that particular instance, just because you have touched something which is set aside for God's work. Ukienda kanisani mahali hata usikie kuna fununu ama kuna nini ama hiyo kanisa ieleweki, wachana na vitu ya madhabahu, imeteuliwa kwa kazi ya Mungu, utalipa. God defends his property and he defends his people. And you can pay it, the price, you cannot even bear the pain of that particular do that paying the price of that thing. Because these things you might see like it is a chair that you have donated to a church, but when it is received at the altar and it is set aside for God's work, then the Spirit of God is there. Spiritually ni kama uende kwa mchawi. I think that is I think you know, people tend some nowadays, I find it funny that some people tend to believe in dark powers more than they can believe in God. So if I give you this example, maybe you are going to believe or to understand what I'm saying faster than you could have understood it. Ukiiba kitu ya mchawi, wewe unajua utarogwa, na unajua hata unaweza kufa, na unajua there are consequences and repercussions. Umeiba kitu ya mchawi na hata ajui ni nani. In fact, you have even seen videos trending all over there, people with a lot of bees and those kind of things, because this thing has been set aside for it is an altar, inamilikiwa, ni ya madhabahu. You don't interfere with it. It is for a specific purpose. Stay away from it if you don't understand. Fuga mdomo wako, huenda huo mdomo wako utakubomoa. Don't fight against something which you don't understand or something which you cannot see. Choose a lesser enemy. Don't choose the altar of God. And that is why I even have a lot of problems with politicians who each and every day they are in churches and they take to the altar of God. Kitu ambayo imeteuliwa ya Mungu, you take the altar to go and hurl all manner of insult to your opponents and those kind of things. Na hapa hii kitu imeteuliwa ifanye kazi ya Mungu. Then you wonder why we have a lot of bloodshed in the country. You wonder why we are collecting bodies from every corners. You wonder why your children are revolting against you. Just imagine in Kenya right now, watoto, they are revolting against the altar. But they don't have a problem with the church. They have a problem with what they are seeing. That they see that whatever we are seeing, that is not what we read from the Bible. Because our watoto wenu, and people say that unajua waelewagwi their children. Our watoto walianza kusoma kuhusu Mungu na wanamjua kuhusu Mungu zaidi. And they know what should be happening. In fact, I was speaking to another person and he was telling me, you know, I don't go to church because of the things which I see in church are not hand in hand, or they don't go hand in hand with what we read in the Bible, because hao watoto wenu wamepitia high school, and high school walisoma Biblia from form 1 and they read it one day, the second day, the third day for 4 years, so they know these things. They may not have understood them spiritually, but now they have an understanding of how these things are supposed to be functioning. Therefore, let us protect the things of the altar, and let us respect the people whom God has called to do his work on the altar. It is not that we have a choice to do that. It is not that we are choosing, but we have to do it because God has predetermined that things are supposed to happen in this particular manner. Think about it. Protect the altar, the things of the altar, the sanctuary. These things have been set aside for God's work. And respect the people that God has called. It is for your own benefit. Itakusaidia. Thank you.